to say it's usually the letters P, B, and M.
So much fun performing with Terry and talking to Jeff. And
Darci Lynne Farmer won America's Got Talent at 12 years old. She walked off that stage with $1 million prize in music, the world at her feet. But here's what nobody told you. That $1 million, it wasn't really $1 million. The fine print said something very different. 8 years later, she's worth $8 million. But the money isn't the real story. The real story is what happened when the shy girl with the puppet tried to become a woman without one. The judges turned on her. The public froze her in time, and she had to fight her way out alone. Darci Lynne Farmer was not just a shy child. She was the kind of shy that could stop a moment cold. Talking to people felt hard. Looking them in the eye felt even harder. When her family went out to eat, she would hide behind her mom and let her order for her because speaking to the waiter felt too overwhelming. She loved singing, but that love lived inside a girl who was deeply afraid of being seen. Her parents kept trying to help her come out of that shell. So they put her in beauty pageants when she was 6 and signed her up for elite gymnastics where she trained for more than 30 hours a week. They hoped something would help her find her voice. Then in 2014, something finally did. Darci was 9 when she competed in the International Cinderella Scholarship Program and won the title of International Mini Mississippi. That alone was a big moment. But the real turning point came when she met Lisa Bonaquisti, a teen title holder who also happened to be a ventriloquist. Darci was completely drawn in. She could not stop thinking about it. For the first time, she saw something that felt exciting and safe at the same time. She begged her parents for a puppet, but they were not convinced. To them, she was a singer. She already had gymnastics. She already had a busy life. Ventriloquism sounded like one more thing they did not have time for. Music. Still, Darci kept asking. And just before her 10th birthday, they finally gave in and bought her a doll named Katie on eBay. That small decision changed everything. Katie was not just a puppet. She became a doorway. Darci started learning with help from Bonaquisti, practicing the alphabet and tongue twisters and all the basics that could make a puppet feel alive. More than that, the puppet gave her something she had never really had before. It gave her cover. It gave her courage. Darci later said the puppet felt like a friend helping her along the way. And that is exactly what happened. In just 1 month, she was ready enough to enter Edmund's Got Talent. Then she won. That early win could have been a nice little moment and nothing more, but it quickly became much bigger. Professional ventriloquist Gary Owens saw her perform and instantly recognized something rare in her. He stepped in to coach her and later became her business manager. He also gave her one of the characters that would become part of her story, Oscar, a shy and soulful mouse puppet that had been sitting in his house without a real purpose until Darci came along. Around the same time, vocal coach Tiana Plemons joined to help shape her singing. Little by little, the pieces started falling into place. Darci had music talent, but now she had guidance, too. From there, the pace picked up fast. Between 2014 and 2017, she moved through competition music after competition, winning local and national titles and building confidence with each music step. She took first place in Oklahoma Kids and Oklahoma's Got Music Talent in their junior divisions. Then she swept major categories at American Kids in Branson. In March 2016, she appeared on Little Big Shots and Yodel with Katie. A few months later, she made history as the first child ventriloquist ever invited to perform at an evening show at the Vent Haven International Ventriloquist Convention, which is one of the most respected events in that world. She was only 11. By then, it was clear this was no longer a child trying out a hobby. This was a performer finding her lane. That road led her straight to the stage that would change her life. On May 30th, 2017, Darci Lynne walked onto the America's Got Talent stage holding Petunia, a pink rabbit dress music in glitter. She was only 12 and she looked nervous, but there was also something steady music in her. When Simon Cowell asked why she'd entered the show, her answer was simple and sincere. She said it was one of her big dreams, and she also wanted to help keep ventriloquism alive, music, because it was not common anymore. That mattered. She was not just there to impress people. She was there because she cared about the art itself. Then she performed Summertime Music, and everything changed in a matter of minutes. The song itself had meaning because her father used to sing it to her, and she had switched to it just 1 week before filming. That last-minute choice turned out to be perfect. Petunia sang while Darci stood still with her lips closed, and the whole act felt so smooth that people could hardly believe what they were watching. The audience exploded. The judges stood up. Mel was clearly emotional as she praised her, and then music hit the golden buzzer. Gold confetti came raining down, and Darci could barely process what had happened. She later said it felt like she died, and came back because she was in total shock. That moment did not stay on the stage. It spread everywhere. The video took off almost instantly and became one of the biggest AGT clips ever. Millions of people watched it in a matter of days. Her name suddenly traveled far beyond the theater. Still, the bigger story was not just that the clip went viral. It was that a girl who once could not look a waiter in the eye had just stood in front of the world and owned the room without saying a word as herself. That is what made it unforgettable. The golden buzzer pushed her straight into the quarterfinals, and from there, she kept building on the momentum. Music. First came Oscar with Who's Lovin' You, which earned another standing ovation. Then came one of her smartest moves in the semifinals. She brought out Edna Dornacher, an older puppet with sharp tongue and a playful attitude, and had her flirt with Simon Cowell while singing Natural Woman. It was funny, bold, and perfectly timed. It also showed something new. Darci was not just technically gifted. She understood character, rhythm, and how to turn performance into a full moment. By the time the finals arrived on September 19th, 2017, she felt like the one to beat. For that performance, she brought both Oscar and Petunia on stage with a little help from my friends. The act had humor, energy, and the kind of easy flow that makes hard things look simple. The truth was, it was anything but simple. She had learned it just the day before. Even so, it came across with such confidence that Simon Cowell said on air that he thought she was going to win. The next night, she performed with Terry Fatter, one of her biggest idols and a former AGT winner. And even after stumbling over the opening line, she recovered with ease. Then the results came in, and Darci Lynne was crowned the champion. Music, that would matter for a lot of reasons. She was not the youngest winner in the show's history, but she became the first female ventriloquist to win AGT. She also became the third ventriloquist overall to take the title, which placed her in a very select group. Yet, the real power of the victory went beyond records. It felt like the full answer to the story that had started years earlier, with a girl hiding behind her mother in restaurants. Now, she had won one of the biggest talent shows in the world, and she had done it through the very thing that helped her speak in the first place. After that, her career opened up fast. Her homecoming show in Oklahoma sold out in minutes, which forced organizers to add more dates. She performed at Caesar's Palace on New Year's Eve. At the same time, her family had to make a huge decision about what this new life would look like. Instead of locking her into a long Las Vegas residency while she was still so young, her parents chose touring. It gave her more flexibility and felt like a better fit for a 12-year-old. They believed in her enough to go Allen. Music. Her father left his job in banking software sales. Her mother stepped away from teaching preschool. The whole family shifted around this growing dream. That choice paid off. Her first major tour, Darci Lynne and Friends Live, started in early 2018 with just a few dates. But demand kept growing until it became a much larger run. The crowds came, the tickets sold. The success proved that she was not just a television moment people music would forget in a few weeks. She could fill seats. She could carry a show. She could connect with people night after night. More tours followed, each one music, helping her grow from a child star into a real live performer with staying power. Television kept calling too. In December 2018, NBC aired her holiday special, Darci Lynne, My Hometown Christmas, and she shared the screen with major names like Lindsey Sterling, Toby Keith, Kristen Chenoweth, and Pentatonix. She kept returning to America's Got Talent as a guest. She showed up on talk shows, award shows, and family music programs. She also stepped into new kinds of roles, including guest appearances and panel work on Nickelodeon. The range kept growing, but the heart of it stayed the music, same. No matter where she appeared, the blend of singing, puppetry, and personality remained the center of her appeal. Even when she returned to AGT for the Champions in 2019, she proved she still knew how to surprise people. She performed a Tina Turner medley with Oscar, then returned as a wild card act for finals where music, Petunia sang opera. In the end, she finished as runner-up behind Shin Lim. But even that run added another layer to her career. During the results show, she performed with Roll the Dog from the Muppets, which felt like the kind of full-circle moment most performers only dream about. A girl who once used a puppet to feel less afraid, music, was now sharing the stage with one of the most beloved puppets in entertainment history. As her career grew, music, so did her cast of characters. Petunia became the diva in training. Oscar stayed the shy and soulful one. Edna brought sarcasm and flirtation. Katie kept her place as a yodeling original. Later came Ivan, a one-eyed Australian alien, and more voices followed after that. Darci has said that all of her puppets come from parts of her own personality. And that makes sense. They did not feel random. They feel like different sides of the same music girl, each one saying something she understands deeply. Most people hear $1 million prize and think the story ends right there. It sounds clean, simple, and life-changing in one instant. But with America's Got Talent, the truth is a lot less flashy than what it looks like on television. That prize is not usually handed over as one giant check. The fine print says it can be paid as a financial annuity over music 40 years, which means $25,000 a year before taxes. Winners can also choose a lump sum instead, but that amount is far smaller than the headline number. Reports Music have placed it somewhere around $300,000 after taxes, and past winner Michael Grimm even said his lump sum was only $200,000. Darci Lynne Farmer and her family have never publicly said which option they chose. Still, what mattered to Darci right after winning was not only the money itself. One of her first big goals was to give part of it to her church, the Church of the Servant in Oklahoma City, where her mother serves on the worship leadership team. And in a way, that tells you a lot about who she is. The prize made her famous, yes, but it did not define the whole story. Music, what came after, mattered much more. Over time, Darci built something far bigger than a one-time win. Her current net worth is widely estimated at around $8 million. And that did not come from one TV moment. It came from years of touring, television appearances, private music events, speaking engagements, and a nonstop schedule that kept growing. While most people still remembered her as the little girl with a puppet, that is where the real story begins to get interesting. The world met her as a child, but she did not stay a child. She kept working. She kept performing. She kept building. Private bookings reportedly brought in as much as $100,000, while speaking appearances were said to bring in around $30,000 each. On top of that, her online audience kept expanding across every major platform. Millions followed her on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, turning her into more than a stage act. She became a digital star, too, with sponsored posts bringing in even more income. Still, numbers only tell part of it. What makes her story compelling is not just that she earned money after winning. It is that she had to grow up while the whole world kept seeing her as 12 years old. That kind of fame can be a gift, but it can also trap you inside an old version of yourself. And Darci has been honest about how hard that was. After graduating from Deer Creek High School in 2023, she did not rush into college. She had been homeschooled from her freshman year on so she could keep touring. And by the time high school ended, she had already spent years living a life that looked nothing like normal teenage life. Music. She once considered majoring in musical theater, but instead she stepped back. Music. In a candid interview in March 2026, she admitted she had struggled with her identity and with what she actually wanted to do next. That honesty matters because it cuts through the polished image people expect from someone who became music famous so young. By then, she had already spent 8 years touring. That kind of pressure leaves a mark. She has spoken openly about anxiety, self-doubt, and the strange feeling of wanting normal things while living a very unusual life. She tried to hold on to that normally where she could. Her faith remained a steady part of her life. Even though she admitted that being a Christian in the entertainment world can feel difficult and isolating, music, through all of that, she was trying to figure out something simple but huge. Who was she when the spotlight faded and the puppets were not in her hands? That question became even more important during the co-lockdowns. Like a lot of people, she suddenly had time to sit with herself. But instead of letting that season close her in, she found a release through songwriting. She said writing music became the outlet she needed, and that creative shift started pushing her in a new direction. Little by little, the girl people knew for ventriloquism began trying to introduce them to another side of herself. That chain became impossible to miss when she appeared on AGT Fantasy League in 2024. During the semifinal, Music, she made a bold choice and performed her original song, Push Our Luck, without any music puppets at all. It was not a safe move. It was not even the move people expected her to make. Some judges pushed back hard, especially Mel B, who felt the music was pulling her away from what made her special. But Simon Cowell saw something else in that moment. He respected the fact that she ignored the advice, trusted herself, and stepped out on her own. She did not make it past the semifinals, but in another sense, she still won something important. She made her point. She made it clear that she was not trying to stay frozen in the role the public had chosen for her years earlier. She even said it plainly in 2024 when she explained Music, that people had frozen her at 12 and that she was trying to break out of that image. From there, the shift kept going. Her debut solo single, Push Our Luck, arrived in February 2024. Then came Someone Wake Me Up in August that same year, followed by more singles like Takes a Melody, Hold Me, and Better Late Than Never in July 2025. The music video for Push Our Luck, which she executive produced herself, even won Best Music Video at the Los Angeles Film Awards. So, the move was not a passing music experiment. It was the start of something she clearly wanted to build. At the same time, she was exploring other parts of music entertainment, too. She stepped into acting with a Cowgirl song in 2022, appearing opposite Cheryl Ladd, and even co-writing the song Just Breathe for soundtrack. Then, in 2024, she appeared in Reagan, the biopic, starring Dennis Quaid. The scene itself was playful and memorable. She played a young woman who pretends to drown because young Reagan was such an attractive lifeguard. The film went on to gross $30.1 million worldwide. Music. She also added voice acting to her growing list of credits, including Disney's Fancy Nancy and an episode of Scooby-Doo and Guess Who, where she appeared as herself alongside Petunia. So, while the music public still often talk about her like a novelty act from a talent show, her actual career was becoming much wider than that. And even then, she kept some parts of her life carefully guarded. She has stayed fairly private about relationships, though she did share in early 2024 that she had met someone at a wedding and liked that he was nervous to talk to her. Later reports suggested that relationship did not last. Around that same period, she moved into her own apartment with a friend and admitted Music, that living on her own had been harder than they expected. That detail feels small, but music matters. It reminds you that behind the tours and cameras, she was also just a young woman learning ordinary adult life in real time. Her family remained close through it all. Her father, Clark, returned to banking during one of her breaks, though he still acts as her interim manager. Her mother, Misty, continues to travel with her. That support system has clearly mattered, especially as her career has entered a new phase. And that music next phase became very clear in 2025. At 21, Darci launched her most ambitious tour, yet called up close and personal. It began on February 15th in Muskogee, Oklahoma, and stretched across 35 shows in 33 music cities through April 2026, with special Christmas leg added in December 2025. But what made this tour stand out was not just the size, it was the format. Instead of leaning on large theaters, she started performing in comedy clubs. That changed everything. Suddenly, the rooms were smaller, the audiences were closer. The venues held around 600 to 500 people, which meant every reaction was more visible and every moment felt more direct. Darci herself admitted that the setup challenged her because people could see her so clearly, even her mouth. But that closeness also gave the shows a new energy. She could read faces. She could feel the room. It became more intimate, more alive, and more personal. The response showed that the gamble paid off. The tour posted a 93.84% music sell-through rate, with 20 of the first 25 markets selling out in the first 6 music months. That included 3 shows in West Palm Beach, plus major dates at the Ryman Auditorium in Nashville and the Grand Ole Opry House. In other words, she was not just surviving the shift into adulthood, she was proving she could carry it. And still none of this fully explains why she connected with so many people in the first place. For that you have to understand how hard her craft really is. Singing ventriloquism is not just unusual, it is brutally difficult. She has to sing in character, keep her lips still, control the music, puppet's mouth and body, stay in key, remember lyrics, work the timing, and make the whole thing feel effortless. That is an enormous amount to juggle at once. She once described how much is happening in her mind during a performance. Music. From the song itself to the puppet's interaction with the audience to the physical movement of the arms and expressions. It only looks natural because she has done it so much that parts of it have become second nature. Even then, there are technical hurdles that never fully disappear. Some sounds are especially hard because they usually require lip movement. She has spoken about struggling with letters like WMP and B, and even said that peanut butter was hard. That may sound like a funny detail, but it gives a glimpse into music, the precision behind the act. This is not just charm. It is discipline. That is why respected ventriloquists have praised music her so highly. Jay Johnson called her technique near perfect, and said her voice was strong enough to stand on its own even without the puppet. Others have pointed to her comedic timing. Music, which is just as important as the mechanics. Because what really separates Darci from many other performers is not just that she can make a puppet sing. It is that her puppets feel alive. They do not just open and close their mouths. They flirt. They interrupt. They tease. They argue. They have little rivalries and running jokes that make the act feel spontaneous, even when it is planned. Oscar gets crushes. Edna flirts with judges. Petunia cuts in at just the right moment. That is the magic of it. The audience is not only watching technique, they are watching characters. And yet, even with all that success, music Darci is still in a strange place. She is too well known to quietly reinvent herself, but still young enough that people expect her to remain who she used music to be. That tension may be the most interesting thing about her now. She can sell out shows across the country and command 6-figure fees, but she is still asking herself a deeply human question. What does her future actually look like? Music. She has admitted that she is still trying to figure out her brand. That sounds like a business phrase, but underneath it is something much more personal. She is trying to understand what her career looks like as a young woman, not as the child America first met. That is a hard transition for anyone. For someone who grew up in front of millions, it is even harder. There are reminders of that pressure in places you might not expect. Her official tour page has had to warn fans, music, that she has no private accounts and will never ask for money, gift cards, music, or personal information. That warning is there because impersonation scams have followed her for years. Even success comes with its own mess. At the same time, little details about her life make her feel refreshingly real. She drinks hot tea before shows, even though she hates it. She says warm, sweet drinks make her gag. She calls herself an old soul. She loves jazz, funk, ragtime, and classic movies. She has a multiple named Binks, and with a kind of relieved humor. She once said she had not gone through a Miley Cyrus music phase. Those details matter because they soften the public image and let you see the person underneath.